right, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for being here at Smart Music Spotlight webinar on Smart Music for choir teachers. My name is Giovanna Cruz and I'll be running everything in the background for our session today. We are recording this, so you'll be able to watch it later if you need to. Before we get started, I would like to give you a couple of housekeeping notes. If you have any questions for our presenter throughout the session, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, which you should see at the bottom of your screen. We will not be answering questions from the chat box, but we will have time for Q&A at the end of today's session. So make sure you put any questions directly in the Q&A box. At the very end of the session, we will also share a link to the certificate of attendance for this webinar. Please note, the certificate of attendance will only be available for live attendees and not for the replay. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the presenter of today's session, and his name is Leigh Kallestad. You can go ahead and unmute and introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Giovanna, and I'm glad to be here and be part of this session. And like Giovanna said, my name is Leigh Kallestad. I did teach choir in elementary, middle school, high school, and community choirs, and as well as bands and other groups during my public school years. And then I was hired out of the classroom to work for Make Music and do clinics for teachers around the country. So what I want to share today is the kinds of things that might help you get started if you're just getting going with Smart Music. We'll touch base a little bit on how to create a class enrolling, but we're not going to spend a lot of time going through detailed examples of that, because we'll show you an overview and show you exactly where the step-by-step directions are. But that's a starting point if you're going to use it with students. What I do want to focus on is what vocal content you can use and what kind of assignments might be appropriate. And we hope to have time to look at the sight reading builder and importing your own content, and of course, getting to your questions. So without further discussion on that, like Giovanna said, please throw any questions into the Q&A and we'll deal with those at the end. I want to start out to be very clear about my philosophy with software is that it really is about the teacher. The teacher sets the goals and gives the instruction. That we can all do with or without software. Where the trick comes in is when that student leaves your classroom and, for example, they're looking at this as an assignment, something you want them to learn for the next rehearsal. How do they do that? And with Smart Music, they can hear it, they can see it, they can record it, it can assess. And when they've worked that out and feel like they're ready to complete that assignment, then it goes to your grade book. They put that up there. And what they put in your grade book, they've already seen. You can see there are green notes there. They can hear the recording. And then in this case, because it's more of a technical exercise, this one I've chosen to have Smart Music do the assessment. So if I'm doing a lot of these technical things, I may not want to spend the time assessing them, but I may check in here and there. So let's go through how these tools might work for you. As I said, we'll just quickly take a look at creating classes and show you where the step-by-step directions are. If you're new to Smart Music, the first time you open up your account, you're going to see a page like this. There's a little blue plus up in the center there, center right, where the arrow's pointing, and you can create a class. Most of the time, we're dealing with teachers that are working in a school. So if that's the case, you would choose the school on the right, and make sure it's linked to your platform, the ones that bought it. And as soon as you choose that school, it's going to come to this screen and you'd see the bottom arrows pointing to class name. All you have to do is type in your class name. And I would not put in the last date to join this class. That's another field. There's no reason to do that. And just leave that one blank, because if a student comes in quite late, you would have to jump through a few hoops to change that. So really all we did at this point was clicked on the school, made sure it was linked, and put in the name of the class. Immediately this page pops up. This is a class details page. On the left, you can see there's a little link that would open up more information about the group you just made. There's a class code on the right, and it says no students here yet. You can enroll some. So before we enroll students, I think we want to set up probably a grading scale and a calendar. So if I go back to the home page now, the classes I've just created are going to show up here on the home screen. And it may be a little small for you to see, but there's links back to your students, the assignments, and practice reports right in that block for each class. But if I want to set up a grade book, grading scale and calendar, then I go up to that top right corner where there's that orange and white grid. And when I click on that, this window pops up and it shows me all the places that I can go as a teacher. And the one I want to go now to is class tools. If I click on class tools, that is used to create a grading scale, a calendar, and if I want, I can add a method book. If I click on class tools, it takes me to this page, and you might be able to see there's a red line under grading scale. And there's some other things like create a new scale, reuse an existing one, import or predefine. So make music, put together some very common formats for grading scales, and you can use one of those and edit it, or you can create a new one from scratch. I chose one to bring in and edit an A, B, C, D, F. Then all I have to do is change the percentage numbers of what those grades are. When I get these set with the right numbers, I save it, and that's all I have to do for a grading scale. If I want the same scale for another class, I'll right here reuse that for the next class I create. Or maybe I want a pass fail for a different class, then I would just create a new one for that. I can have a different grading scale for every single class. Next, the calendar works much the same way. It's a little grayed out here, but you can create your own grading calendar. And once you've done that, you can use that again or create new ones. So here for this class, I just put in 2021, add first semester and second semester of the calendar dates. When I get this set, I save it and I have a grading calendar. You could do quarters, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, semesters, full term, summer sessions, any type of calendar you want. A great option to help your students practice more and find their content is if you tag a method book onto that class. So when I go and hit the blue plus on the left side, I can say, okay, for the choir, I scrolled through all the titles that popped up, all the method books, and I chose the listen sing method, and I hit save. And now that will appear, not the graphic, but the name of it will be a link on the bottom right corner of their home screen. All they have to do is go there and they can jump right into that method book instead of searching for it. If a month later or anytime I want to reset it, I just come back here, reset, pick a new book, and attach that one. You can have only one book at a time per class, but you can change them as often as you like. Now that I've done that, I mentioned about enrolling students. So we'll just touch on this real quickly. I can go back to the home screen, and another way to get to those classes is the top right corner grid. When I click on that, this time I go to admin, and in the admin page, I'm back to the screen that popped up right when I made the class. I've opened the pop-up menu here to show 3 options. You want to just copy the class code and share it? You want to use the email template? Or do you have classes already and you just want to re-enroll some students from one class to the next? I'm going to just show you the email template look. When I do that, click on that. This is actually pretty ingenious, I think, because I can copy this to the clipboard, email it out, or maybe if I'm doing a Zoom class with my students, I can just drop this into the chat window after I give them a little tour of SmartMusic. And it really only has 2 steps for the students. Open a Chrome browser and go to smartmusic.com/join. So there's the address there. When you get to that screen, put in your class code and it's listed right here. So the student just has to do those 2 things, and then they will be following prompts to create their class account and get set up in SmartMusic, and then they get the email confirmation to get set up. So we just went through a lot of details pretty quickly. So let's just make sure we're okay on where the directions are for all those things, because they're easy to do if you just follow them one step at a time. Back in the home screen, there are different links here for information. The question mark, if you click on that, that's quick search. When you click on that, you can answer questions or contact customer support directly, or the help center. If I click on that, I'm going to get this screen, which is the SmartMusic Help Center. And one thing I learned was to go down and click on the See All link under the educators. Notice that students have their own help center articles as well, so they have the information too. But if I click on See All, then I get a page like this, and there's more than what you're seeing here, but I wanted to show you creating a class and adding a students. There are step-by-step directions of the things that I just went through quickly. So you can do that on your own and take your time for that. But that's, if you haven't done classes before, it's not hard, and the students do just fine, but it's nice to know you have step-by-step directions right there to walk yourself through it. Now the throw in, I see a couple of Q&A things popping in that we'll do at the end. So please feel free to ask any question. And maybe to help us get a little idea of who's in the room, so to speak, and what your background is, we have a second poll that Giovanna can put out there. And that'd be if you've used SmartMusic and possibly if you've done assignments, just have a little bit more experience with SmartMusic. So Giovanna, if we could, maybe we could run that second poll now. And you can probably see on your screen there, 28% or 62% have used it. Some aren't using it right now. And quite a few people haven't used it, but know where it is. And then about half and half kind of on assignments. So that's great information. Thank you for doing that. We're going to close that out. What I want to go to the heart of things is what content you can use, how to find it easily, and then how to schedule assignments. So, and that might prompt some other questions. So let's go live now to SmartMusic. And on our home screen, we talked about, this is where the classes are sitting out here, some recent assignments, other boxes of information, and ways to find music. I want to mention off the bat, one thing that I didn't know about right away was how it affected students to go up to the top, if they knew to go up to this grid and click on Find Music. Because when they did that, it opened up all sorts of visuals of the kind of cool stuff that's in there, like Hamilton and different genres, rock and pop, soundtracks and musicals. So all these different things were available, and typically they only did their assignments unless they saw this kind of page. I believe the statistics showed that students opened up 42% more titles when they knew how to look for them there. So that's just to let your students know about that. So the first place I'm going to go as a teacher is I'm going to scroll down my page and look at this box over here, this grid. Each one of these is a direct link into that content. So I'm going to click method books. And when I do that, it brings me into a page that has 181 method books for all sorts of instruments. Well, I don't care, since we're really talking about choir mostly with a few guests here, I really want to find out what's available for voice. So if I go down the left side, all I have to do here is say, my instrument is voice. And I start typing in, I'm going to choose voice all, because then I don't have to worry about the ranges on things. And then this is a great page. And I think this is really the first place I would start as a choir director for content. Notice that there are 18 very specific titles, collections and method books for band and for choir. And what I want to do is just show you 3 examples of these in case you're not aware. So the first one, I believe, is Andy Beck. And this is probably for younger students. When I click on it, it shows me the exercises in there. When I go to the open method on the right and select an instrument, I'll pick treble voice. When I hit open, it comes on screen. And the thing I like about this, and I'll just play it here and maybe you can be the judge, look at the text of what the students are singing and how it tells them how to stand and have posture. So I may not use that with my high school choir, but I think for the younger students, that's a great warm-up exercise. And of course, it goes through several keys. What I might do with an older group is do something like building beautiful voices. And there's a lot of vocalies exercises in here. Maybe some of you have used this. When I click open now and select a part, I have a different experience. And the first thing I may need to tell the choir is that this is in 5/4. So let's be counting and take a good breath on beat 5. And notice I have my part and accompaniment and metronome options in this view. So I'll click on those a couple times. And you can start anywhere, you could loop any chunk. That's a different kind of warm-up method book. And then just the third example I'll show for methods is one of my favorites to help singers learn how to sing their pitches and do solfege. It's called the Listen Sing method, Cynthia Gonzalez. And a little background on this, and again, you can see where I have all these exercises here. If I open up this, she was getting kids in her classes that had wonderful voices, but they couldn't read music very well. And we all want to have independent singers. So what I'm going to do here, much to my chagrin, I'm going to set it to bass voice. And I already know that this is going to be embarrassing for me, but that's the way it is. Anytime you open up vocal content, you have a couple options here. I can click on a note and hear a speaker of that pitch, great for working in choir parts. And up in the top right corner, there's a little ear, which you might not notice at first. That gives the tonality and the starting pitch. So those are both great ways to see how you're doing. Now in this case, what I'm going to do is click the record button. And it says melodic through microphone. Yes, that's what I want. There's a percussive as well. I don't want that for singing, of course. So I'll select this, and it says contact support if it didn't hear my information there. So let me try that again. And I'm going to have to switch a microphone setting here because I just lost my mic. And you might run into that too, and that means that there's a option here. Let me try this one. And this time it heard it. So the nice thing about it is if there is something where your equipment kind of confused it, right there in that screen, I had the option to do that. So that might be a discussion point with students of what do you do if you have the bear and what's the option? Well, I'm on this screen right here. I want you to notice that it does tell the kids to unplug their microphone, do the sound check, and then for better results, plug the headphone in again. So if they have the headphone out so the mic can be heard and the whistle can be heard, that's great. But you probably want to record yourself with headphones. So SmartMusic is only assessing your part. And then I would sing back my part and I would get my assessment. Depending on how I do, I'm going to get red notes, green notes, or yellow notes. And you can see here, if I were singing, it says, oh, you got this note right, and this one's wrong, and this one is late. And this brings up an issue of maybe just a couple of views and controls with what can you see in SmartMusic. So when we came into any song, it opens up in tracks. But when I did that microphone, then it went to my takes, and I have my scores here of most recent and best. So the 5 best scores and the 5 most recent scores are going to be in this drop down. When I find the best one I want to submit for an assignment, I can do it right then. I review it as a student and I submit it. If I close out of this song and come back the next day, I will have to do that again. They do not hold over. And just a couple other things about buttons and views here. If I'm doing assessment, and we'll show this in our assignment phase, there's tolerances you can use. Average is kind of what I would maybe strive for. Lenient would be maybe where I would start with my first few assignments, or even easy. I want that to be grading a little bit on the easy side until my students get used to things. If I want to do a loop of something and practice a very technical spot, I go to the loop and hit set, and then I can just drag any area and loop it over and over. And I can set how much I want to increase each loop by different tempos or use count-offs. When I'm done with looping, I'll clear it right here. On display, and again, we won't hit every single button, but there's a couple of things here that I think are very, very nice to know about. Once in a while, you may have a student or teacher that has issues with red and green color. So if you put on the colorblind mode for display, they turn to blue and salmon. And now they can see their assessment. So that's a big deal for those people. Highlight measures will give you a blue highlight that moves with each measure. And sometimes teachers like that for their students to kind of coax them along. Some other teachers do not like that at all. You see a vertical cursor here. If you want to have a beat cursor or flow cursor or a note cursor or a note cursor, then you select that there. So just some ways that you can make it easier to practice for your students. Now I'm going to go back. We looked at methods. We did a little bit of look at buttons. And now I just want to show you a couple other content things. I'm going to go back to the home screen by clicking on SmartMusic. And I can go in now. I'm going to just go in through the choir button. And like before, for choir, there's 274 titles that are choir. Now I may want to sort by difficulty level, and this is the pepper difficulty level. So maybe I just want what's medium easy. Well, it's 150 titles that are medium easy. So I can search that way as well. Another thing I can do is type in a name of a song, or I can filter and search by any of these headers. So if I go to Afternoon on a Hill and open this up, select my instrument. And by the way, if I want to change instruments, it says I can't do that. Just go over and hit the refresh circle. And now I can pick any other voice. I'll pick the alto part and open this up. Now this one has a piano part and the choir. I want to show you maybe a rehearsal thing here. I'll just start at the piano. Remember, I could do the ear to get tonality. I could click on a note to hear it, but the piano ends on an A and this voice part starts on an A. So let me see what that does. I think the thing I really like about this is the singer can, at home, be practicing. They can hear the reference of the piano. They can put the piano sound to highlight their part if they need. They can have the accompaniment on or off, or they can blend the volume. And they have all the tools they need to practice the way they like. And you probably know that some of your students like to learn one way and others a different way. So this gives them the tools to practice independently and become independent learners. And we'll show that maybe in the way you send out assignments will help them as well. The last category right now I want to go for content is I'll go back to the home screen and let's just take a look at solo literature. And so this time I'm going to click in the solo box. And I might want to look at just what's for voice and do voice all. There's 165 titles, but the titles could be a collection. If I type in 24, if I see that there's 24 Italian is one of the collections. And so all those songs are here, but it listed as one title. So you want to do a little bit of looking around. And also if I want Alma Decor, notice that before you open up any title, there's a heart next to it. If you click on that heart, it adds it to your favorites, which is a box on your home screen. You can do this at any time. You can change them. Students can have favorites as well. It's a nice shortcut. Now, what I want to do here is open this up. And let's see, do this one. And again, we've got the ear and the tonality, and this has the accompaniment. So I'll just play a sample right here. And of course, they can slow it down. They can work on a section. You can assign a section and things like that. So if I were wondering about getting started with SmartMusic for choir, I think those are the areas I would head for first: method books, choir titles, and solos. And I'm not sure if you can see everything on my screen, but just across the top, it looks like I have a gazillion tabs open. There's a reason for that. And one of the shortcuts you can do with Google is any screen you're on, you can click on let me just do it this way. You can have any tab open and go from tab to tab to tab to make sure that your class is moving along at a quick level. No downtime between songs. The other thing is when you are assigning things, you can do a tab for a group. Like for today's workshop, I could open all 7 songs at once, or I can click on the folder and go and open up any one. And if you haven't done that before, you just go up in the URL bar, click on the star, and then you set up your filing system for folders. So you could have that for every class. It's just a great shortcut. Just want to regroup, give you a second here if you have some questions of things that came in during that time. And then our next category we're going to go to is assignments and gradebook. I want to really hit, just show you that doesn't have to be a very scary thing. I'm going to do one check here on my sound because I had that little microphone question. And looks like we're still good for that. I would say
there are some questions if you want to take a few right now.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So Deb asks, so if you have a piece of choir music that is not in the library, do you need to input the pitches manually?
We're going to show a little bit of that towards the end of importing music. You can either do it in any notation program, create it and bring it in as music XML automatically, or you can write it in the music in the free notation program built into SmartMusic. So I'll show that, but yeah, you'd have to bring in the music. The big deal there before you do anything is the obvious question is copyright. So you need to have copyright to start that. But if we have time, I will show that in bringing things in. Did you have another question there?
Yeah, there's a few more. maybe we can take a couple now and then continue the presentation and take the rest at the end.
Sounds good.
Rebecca asks, are there lesson plans available for voice?
I wouldn't say that it has lesson plans, but there's some ways we're going to look at scheduling assignments that I think would be very helpful. And maybe there could be a follow-up, if you would, Rebecca, to that. You know, are you talking like theory lessons or such? The place I would go for 1,000 free theory worksheets would be in Finale under the file menu. There's literally about 1,000 worksheets right there. That would be great to share. One more question, then I better jump into the assignments tab here.
Okay. Karen asks, how do we assign to individual students so others don't get confused and learn others' songs or parts?
Perfect segue to our next assignment. So stay tuned and see if I answer that for you here. So thank you. That's a great question. And you can do it very easily with one extra click. So we'll show that. So my question to everybody is, what assignments are best for your students? It's kind of a rhetorical question.
Leigh, sorry to interrupt. I think you may have to swap your displays. We're seeing your presenter's notes.
Okay, let's see here. Yeah, when I went back to check my mic, I think I did that to you. Okay. So now you're seeing the SmartMusic screen again.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. It takes a village. So let's schedule out assignments right now. We've already seen some of these assignments, or these pieces of music. So I could just go and bring those in again. So let's go to our home, and we'll start with a method book assignment. And the first one I want to do there is the listen, sing. And this time, instead of putting a filter, I'll just type listen, sing, and there's my listen, sing volume. I pick here, we've already seen it, so I don't need to open it up. I'll hit the assign button. And when I do that, I have to pick something right here. I have to have custom assignment, if that's the option, or some large group titles will have the assignment 1 or 2 as a predefined assignment. There's a great feature that's been added up here, a little information logo, and it just gives you a quick little direction of what to do. Sometimes, you know, we're not quite sure what that thing is, so just click on that little information circle and it'll tell you that. The thing I would really emphasize, especially with long distance learning, especially with software, you're not in the room, take the time to put in instructions here. You have to do that, I think, to make the instructions a little more meaningful for your students. Why are you giving this assignment? What you want them to do? Do you want them to send you a note? Then we just go right down the row and check on things. Do you want them to be able to have the metronome on when they submit, the accompaniment on? My part, I'd say hardly ever. Don't do that. That'll mess up with your assessment. Cursor type, remember we looked at that. Do you have a preference on cursor? Measure highlight, remember you saw that. Do you want that on or off? People have strong feelings about that. By the way, anything in SmartMusic, whether you bring it in or it's part of SmartMusic already, you can make it a sight reading and just say on and choose how many seconds. When they start, it'll count down, be a one-time through. That's a great place to have a pre-test, post-test. Now you have a data point that's very controlled. Assessment, we talked about that. And then this, you want melodic for your singing. Average, on your first few assignments, I'm going to go to lenient, just so I have a little more flexibility of how they did. I want them to get used to this. As they're good on that, then I'll bring it up to probably average. When I filled out all the buttons, I go to the top right corner, and it brings me to the next screen. And it says, okay, you probably want to do the whole exercise. It highlights everything. If I don't want everything, I can just drag a handle, or I can change the bars. In this case, I do want everything, but I would say that if you are giving out an assignment that's pretty technical and you know it's going to challenge some of your kids, You may want to give them the option of any tempo so they could send it in slower, and you put that in your directions, do it your best tempo. That could reduce stress on something that's a little hard for them to get the first time around. So once I do this, I go to the next screen. And when you first start out, you don't have a whole list of rubrics like I do. You have one, the assessment grade. There's a little information button about it, but all I did here was I added a little sentence to reassure the kids that I can change any SmartMusic grade in case something isn't quite right. So to add an assessment grade where that automatically will grade the students, I hover my mouse, click add to rubric, and put in my points. And I might put in, for a minor thing, I might put in 10 points, or maybe I want to keep it all consistent at 100. That's up to you. Then notice that this will be graded automatically by SmartMusic. I go to the next window. And do I want to send it out now, or do I want to build a unit? I'm going to assign this one right away. It reminds me, this is what you're sending out. This is the points. And I can send it to a class or a number of classes, maybe sectionals or different groups, depending on what the content is. It can go out immediately, or if I don't want that, I can choose when it's going to drop. Then it's going to be due on whenever I say it is. And then I have the option to allow late submissions. And how late you want to let this go. It defaults to the end of your gradebook term, your calendar term, and you don't have to allow that at all. And then I think, was it Rebecca that asked, how do you assign to some students? Just click on this button here and choose that you're only going to send it to Greta. And now she's the only one that's going to get this assignment, or maybe Mike and Greta are going to get this one. That way you can do some makeup work or special work and do it that way. Once I've done with this, all I have to do is click the right arrow again, and I'm done with that. It's just walk it through. It takes a little over a minute if I'm not talking my way through it. Let's try maybe something else here. And in this case, this is Agnus Dei. I'm looking at the rehearsal piano part. And so maybe I want to have that for my rehearsal sound. It'd just be the piano. I won't have the choir accompaniment if I don't want. And I'm going to assign out this now to my class. Each individual, when they log in, they choose what part they want. So they'll get the soprano or alto or tenor or bass. This one does have a predefined assignment. So when I choose it, it says, okay, here is your assignment, the exact directions. I still could give some general directions for my students, and I just go through the exact same prompts. I'm going to do lenient again to start till we get going. Once I walk through this page, now I go to the top right corner, and I have a decision to make. Last time I just wanted, it was technical, I wanted SmartMusic to grade it. I don't have time to listen to several hundred assignments for all my students on those things. But this one is different. It's a choir piece. I want to hear a few different things. So if I want to create my own grading rubric, I just click the plus. A single criterion would be maybe like tone or something. And then I put in my description, and then I would have to listen to it and give them a grade. If I want to do a rubric, I click multiple, and then I put in a description and a title for each level. Let me show you what that could look like. I'm going down here, and I want to do intonation. I'm just going to click the pencil to see how it was put together. Intonation. At 60%, you need improvement, and there's a lack of tonal center. And I'm the one that put in 60 here, so it's at 60%. Then I would hit a button to add another level for fair, another level for good, and so on, and excellent. And I can go through and build my rubric here and use that as a grading tool. If I do that, then when I'm going to add this, I'm also going to add one for tone quality. And in this case, I think I'll just do 50 points on each one. You could weight them any way you wanted. And now I will have to listen to this assignment and grade it. I go through the same prompts and assign now, and we've seen that part. But now let's do another option here. Let's go in and do a solo. And I have a particular reason for showing this as another way to do things. If I go into solos and pick a voice solo again, maybe find that 24 Italian. What I would like to have, so if my students have the standard subscriptions, they can't open solos on their own, but I can put together a solo book for them. So right here, I'm going to assign this solo out, choose custom, walk through the different prompts, go up to the top right corner. In this case, I want the entire piece to be part of the assignment. And I think I'll change it from exactly to any. So later on in the term, maybe they could have a little flexibility on what tempo they use. In my instructions, I'm going to tell them not to submit this. This is going to be for practice for as long as we determine, and at some point we might submit. So I'm not going to listen to this. I'm going to have SmartMusic be the one responsible to grade it at some point. And I'm just going to give 10 points because I don't want to make this as a big assignment. This is one of several things that I'm going to have them look at. Now, instead of assigning it, I'm going to say not now. If I do that, it goes right into my assignment templates. And I can put together a unit just by clicking this plus. I create a unit. And so I've started one here, vocal solos. And that means that all I have to do, let's say if I add this, any one of these to the unit, I just plus it, it's been added to the unit, and I'm building my own 24 Italian type book for my students. I click on the assign unit, send it out to all. Now I've given them a wide variety of solos to do. And I believe for me to put this particular unit together, I timed it, took me 13 minutes to build this unit of about 12 songs. So it's you have to do it once, but then next term, next year, the year after, it's waiting for me, and I can edit the unit any way I want, or schedule it out as is. So that's a great time-saving tool. It allows me to give a lot of tools for my kids to practice. And there may be some questions on that, but along here, what we just covered was some ways to schedule the assignment. I'm going to look next to show you the student view and then grading those assignments. So once I've done assignments out, I do want to know what the students see. So here's a view of a student's SmartMusic. They've enrolled in their classes, and when they go and click on the choir class, they can see the assignments that are due, and then, oh, a couple are overdue for this student, and what's been graded. So if I click on either one, any of these, I get a better picture of what the student's been doing. In this case, this is what they submitted, that 8-bar assignment. I can listen to it here. They see I scored it, and they know exactly how they did. And this student said to me, I kept running out of air. And then the teacher commented back, your pitch is pretty good, however, we need to work on breath control, et cetera, et cetera. So just a quick conversation, and I connected with that student. What you would see in your grade book would be something like this, where the, so let me just, I'll select my class as choir class, and I just pull up a couple examples here. So for this student, this echo sing was one that the student did and submitted the assignment. SmartMusic did the automatic assessment, and she got all the notes correct. Now I can listen if I want.
Do, re, re, do, re.
And I might do that the first few times until I know what students are doing and how it goes. But you know, the next time around when Greta sends in an assignment that's 100%, everything's green, I might just skip on to the next student because I'm not going to worry about her. She's got this. However, if I do go to another type of assignment like this on this day that she submitted, this is a different story. This is one I need to listen to. And you can see what's grayed out was not part of the assignment. It's only where the notes are active. So I'm just going to start right here and listen to a segment of that. So we have good news and bad news. She just about didn't take a breath here. It was a little wobbly, but she got through that. And then a little intonation down here. And so when I grade these things, I can, because I did a rubric, all I have to do is grade it. And she knew ahead of time what to do to earn the score. And as I just go and grade on these rubrics and click on the buttons, I'm done. And I can add a note for the student. So there's a case where I wanted to listen to it. In the other example, not so much. It's technical. I want them to do the practicing. Good thing about the gradebook as well is you can export any of that data as a spreadsheet, and the assignments, the names, the scores, and all can be exported and shared and things like that. I'm going to do a couple quick things because we want some time for assignments, but I want you to see something that almost would have been nice to have a poll on this, but the sight reading builder is a phenomenal part of SmartMusic. And I just want you to be aware of this. So I'm going to walk through it quickly, but it's really important. At the bottom right of the screen, there's an arrow pointing to what it's called SR Builder and Sight Reading Builder. When I click on it, then it'll take me to a place to build this. So I'm going to do that live and go to SR Builder. And normally I would just pick a choir ensemble or a band ensemble and show you that, but it might be a little small for you to see. So I'm just going to go to solos and pick a voice part here because it'll be the same thing. And let me just walk through this. Do you want random tempos or a set tempo? I'm going to do a set tempo of 66 and apply that. How many bars do you want for your sight reading? I'm going to do 8 bars only and apply that. What difficulty level do you want? I'm going to choose level 3 because I've looked at this before and that feels about right. And right now I could auto-generate and I have all sorts of things going on. However, I don't want 3/4 time. So I'm going to go up and look here now to fine tune this. What time signatures? I'm just going to do 4/4 because we're just doing this the first time. Okay, what keys? Just C and G for now, and let's get rid of these. By the way, anything I'm showing here applies to our instrumental teachers as well. What rhythms do you want? Well, I can do a new pattern because we have the song that's going to have one, so I can add one, but I'm going to take out the whole notes. I'm going to take out the whole rest, and we haven't learned eighth dotted quarter yet or syncopation yet, so I'm not going to do that to these kids just yet. One more thing, what range do you want? And you can set how high and low. This is middle C up to F on the top of the staff. And I can pick the range. And just one more thing I'll do here. I'm going to skip most of these. You can read through those when you're doing your own, but I'm going to start this out by only allowing them to have 5 notes of the scale. I just want to start where I have a good shot for success. Now, at this point, if I go to the file menu, I can either save it to my account, I can download it, I can save music XML, or I can assign it. And if I assign it, I send this out to all my students. It's waiting for me to send out again in my units. And the beauty about this, if I have 40 kids that I send it to, each one will get a unique assignment. If I send one student 40 times, they're going to get 40 unique assignments. They never see the same music twice, it is true sight reading. So that is a pretty phenomenal thing. And there are some other sight reading programs out there, but this one will auto assess. That means I could do a sight reading as much as I want, and it's going to roll right into the grade book. I'll do a 2-minute demo on this and see what questions I can get. The question came about adding music. If I go on the main screen to compose and then hit import music XML, this is where I also have a free notation program. I can write music there. Students can do that too. But if I import, I bring it in, it's grayed out. And then when I bring it in, I can share it, I can assign it, I can save it, all those things to do, and it'll look like this. I'm going to do one live, I think, and then let's go to show a couple resources and do questions. If I'm going to do sight reading, compose live and bring in a title, again, we're doing this a little quickly, but I want you to be aware of these things. Here's that import button. If I click on it, it says, what would you like to import? Well, I mentioned that Finale has about 1,000 worksheets. It also has several hundred free, copyright-free ability to use public domain pieces. So I need, my principal said that we have to sing the Star Spangled Banner for the assembly next week. So I bring it in. Is that the soprano part? Yep. Is that the piano part? Yes. And what do you want to do with it? So I go to the file menu, and right now I'm just going to open it up to see what happened here. And we're doing this in real time, so you can see it doesn't take a long time to bring in music. And now this has got all the features of SmartMusic as if it came with the program or Make Music added it. When you add your own content, you have the same ability to do that. And it's that easy to bring in content, and now it's mine to use. I think the last piece I would mention, when we were in the program, I mentioned that little question mark. That's the quick search in the Help Center. There's also a little graduation cap for SmartMusic Academy. And at smartmusic.com, there's some great resources. So I'm going to turn this back over to, or kind of join Giovanna here on what she would like to help me with questions and sharing.
All right. So yeah, we have several questions. I've been answering many of them throughout the webinar. There are a few still that are open. And while you answer these questions, then I'm also going to be dropping some links in the chat for a certificate of attendance and also a survey about how this webinar went for you. So here is the first question. If I import music, can my students who are on a free subscription, are they going to be able to view that?
No, they will, free subscription, they can do the free content that's already in SmartMusic. So no, you wouldn't be able to do that. There
is a way, however, where you import music and you can share it with your students. There's a
Yep.
sharing functionality.
Yep.
And you can share it privately with using email address to send it to your students, or you can share it publicly where all they need is the link.
Yep, so that's a great distinction. So it wouldn't be an assignment that they do, but you can share the music and then they could open up the music with their account. Yep, that's a great distinction.
Here's another question. Is there a way to view the student's homepage or view their homepage?
Not an individual student. That's their account. What I did, what a lot of teachers might do is they want to know what the student is seeing and have that experience. And what you could do is use a school paid student subscription and use a different email and have yourself in SmartMusic as a new persona. That would burn up one of your subscriptions, or with your educator email, you could join a colleague's class, and that wouldn't take a student subscription, but you can't see their homepage. You can see what they submit. You can see what a homepage looks like for them, but not their exact homepage.
Thank you, Leigh. Here, Rana asked, could you please restate how you put text message in the assessment to let students know that you can adjust their grade? I'm not sure exactly at what point that was discussed, but maybe it's in the instructions. So maybe you can show again the
Oh, okay.
in the assigner where the instructions go.
Yeah. So when you're scheduling an assignment, the anything that you put out there, I'm gonna hit the assign button. You have the ability to edit. So I'll just pick an assignment type. And get to my next assignment. Yeah, it's a great question. The one that you have that's automatic doesn't have any description in it. So if you click the pencil, I'm hovering the mouse over it. There's a pencil on each one. I click the pencil. That's where I can add in the text to reassure them that I can adjust their grade. If you create your own rubric, then you can add in your description text there as well. So that's the spot we're talking about. Next question.
All right. How do you only have piano accompaniment and open assignments previously assigned from the assignments list?
Let me deal with the piano accompaniment one, and then I'm not sure about the other one, what if I understood the question. So let's see here. Maybe Giovanni, you can kind of ruminate on that other question too.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understood it correctly either.
So let's see here. Let me get. First of all, you need let's say a choral part that has a piano accompaniment. So I'm going to do afternoon.
While you're typing there, I'm going to drop a few more links in the chat. And the question currently being answered is the last one that we'll answer because we're at the top of the hour, 1 minute short, and we want to make sure and respect your time. So there's some additional links to try SmartMusic if you haven't yet and you're interested in a free trial, as well as some additional resources.
And this is really a really great choral question. Thanks for submitting this one. What I did here when I open it up is you can choose any voice part right here under the record button. And so I chose piano. If I want to hear just piano and not the choral accompaniment, then now piano is my part. So I'll just turn off the accompaniment. Got a lot of rubato going on there, but then that's how you hear piano. Choose piano as the part, and then my part will be on, turn off the accompaniment.
All right, well, it's the top of the hour. Thank you, Leigh, so much for your presentation today. And thank you everybody for attending this webinar. Again, if you need to revisit it, it will be posted on our YouTube channel. And I believe that you're going to receive an email with a link to the recording as well. Take advantage of the links that were posted in the chat. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you.